No, I would say I'm preserving my Cuban accent because it's part of my identity and I like it. And when it comes to accent, this is my personal view. I like to learn a language and I like to be sound native like. So if I'm learning French, I want to sound like a French speaker. So I will make sure that I practice enough pronunciation so I can be perceived as a native or native like, but it's like a personal thing that you don't need to, but for me it's a nice thing to have because like when you are perceived as native like there are less barriers, you get more deeper into cultural slavery because people assimilate with you, okay, or you speak like me, okay, now I can open up more in a different way. I mean, so that's how I see it. Cuban accent, especially with my family. So even with friends, I speak Cuban Spanish. Unless it's mostly like with Latin American people, so I can just speak out like I like Cuban. Then they okay, we are Latinos. We speak like that. So Colombians speak like that. Cubans speak like that. Dominicans speak like that. So I definitely like to preserve it. And also while listening a lot of music, Cuban music and dancing salsa and all that songs and dances, it never stops. And since I'm constantly listening to music, traditional Cuban music, it always reminds me, okay, that I have to preserve my culture and my accent so that it's not goes away. So that's the thing.
And how does it influence the way of your expressions? Like speaking several languages, do they also change somehow?
To be honest, like when I do my A levels, it's really mixing. I was mixing it. I was having written accents in French, and I was mixing with Spanish. So like when I was writing about so thing like that. So in the beginning, it really mixed a lot, but then I had to think in a way of, okay, when I'm in a Spanish mode, I really should focus only on that and train myself, think and act like a Cuban. So when I'm speaking German. Yeah. When I'm speaking German, think and act like a German. German from the south. I'm German south, like Schwäbisch, like more like that. So to get more the identity of where I'm from. So when I'm speaking French, since I learned French from France, so I want to sound like French people. So I think and act like French. So so I would never say I would never tell to French native speakers to slow down to me. No, I say no, don't slow to me. Doesn't matter if I'm not that far, but it triggers me and it forces me to go beyond that. So even in languages where I'm actually a beginner, so okay, I don't slow down. I just want to grasp the natural environment of it. So basically, it's more like actively forcing myself to be part of that culture, that people surrounding for that moment, and
it's kind of you're shifting your identity in that sense, in that moment.
Yeah, a lot of people have this sort of shift also personality-wise. Like for example, for myself, when I speak in Italian, I'm a lot more reserved. I'm more shy because that's like the type of person I am. But when I speak it in English and I have like the American accent, I feel myself as like a Wolf of Wall Street, kind of like very loud, very confident. Like, hey, give me some guns over here, man. And so that sort of way that you kind of can create your idealized version of yourself behind the language and kind of pick up some of the pickups, because whenever I speak French, when I was living in France, I was feeling a little bit more French-like and the way that they perceive things and they judge things. But at the same time, this doesn't always happen. It's very hard because when I'm trying to do some German, I keep reading words like a French person would do, and that's annoying. Kudos for everybody that can force themselves to kind of change their entire character so fast between languages, because I am struggling with it and I'm jealous because I wish I could do it for German, but no, I guess I cannot do that. I'm gonna keep reading words like French, and that's not how it's supposed to be. Like you mentioned that you changed like your expression style between like languages, but also does it change your identity like when you switch between German, Italian, and Spanish and Cuban Spanish? Or is it just like expression? Is it just like surface level in the types of word that you use and when to use it, or is it also like more deep, like a personality change when you speak different languages?
Let me tell you something. For example, when I was in Paris, I met Cubans living in France.
Okay.
And these people were speaking French, but with Cuban accent. And when I was speaking to them, I was like, you can just speak Spanish to me because it's not that big different. So for them, it was hard to get the French accent, even though they were living in France. So for me, it was someone like I'm speaking to a Cuban. Even if you're speaking French words, but it sounds Cuban to me because they act the way of, all this movement, all this flow, putting the French culture. It doesn't it doesn't look good, But so I would say like for sure, like when I speak in German, definitely like it sounds like okay, more disciplined, more forwarded, more punctual. I mean, it's thing that.
But are you though? That's the thing. That's the thing that I'm asking. Is that you may sound more punctual, but not everybody can get to that level. But then, are we actually more punctual?
Like, how do you sound punctual?
I don't know. You sound more precise. Everything is much more in line. There's a lot of more like all of the little section of a phrase are analyzed more and more, more in depth. You tend to this is not about German, by the way, only it's a whole different types of speaking, of taking every single part and kind of not trying to understand exactly what each phrase in the word is. Imagine speaking legalese, like speaking in legal terms. That's what some people do when they try to be more punctual or more like direct.
Okay.
But some people can act like it, but they don't actually follow through.
Yeah.
Because it's hard. It's like it's very hard. So that's what your example was interesting, because you find people that speak French but they were acting or like they were still, you can tell that they were still the Cuban person that they were in the beginning. And being able to change the personality like that, it's a very important tool, but also very extremely hard. I just want to iterate on that.
Okay, for German, so since I was 10 when I came here, so I mean I cannot show up late. So because every time you show up late, in school, you had to explain yourself why you did it. So basically, it could be as a good training because either you're preparing yourself, okay, no, I'm gonna be late. Now I'm preparing how to say what to say, because they were expecting from us, if you're late, you have to explain yourself. So every time. So to have not lifted shame again, you just be punctual and everything's fine, So you learn it from the beginning on. Not to be.
That's a very strange lesson to learn. But in general, that's exactly what I'm talking about. It's like you already know the rules and you're adapting them. Not everybody can do that. You'd be surprised how many people, even that have been into certain countries for long, they tend to have their own ways of doing things and not necessarily adapt with it. So I'm just saying, this is not as natural as it may sound.
Yeah, but I think, there's also a thing. Last year I went to Kenya and Tanzania, and the way they perceive time is different than Western countries. So here in Germany or Western countries, time is very like a fixed point. You have to be there at 6 p.m. You have to be there at 7 a.m. But in Kenya or in Tanzania, it's like more like there's a time frame. Things will happen, but it's not a fixed time. That's why people won't show up on that time, because they think there is time, the perceive of time is different, and that's based on different culture from there, like Swahili culture, Bantu languages. So it is different way of perceiving it. And that's why people from Western country perceive them as being unpunctual, because they won't show up at 7 p.m. No, 7 p.m. doesn't mean anything to them, because they see time as a fluid thing, and not as a fixed thing. So maybe there's also a thing that, I would say that. And Latin Americans definitely do that.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was trying to get. But I think it's interesting to take this into a little bit of a lesson that people might be like coming from this. Like if let's say there's somebody coming in and he wants to, he's decided to be like, oh, I need to have a neutral accent to make sure that everybody understands me, or I should keep my regional accent or the accent where I'm coming from. So in that situation, what advice would you give learners that are undecided between these two?
I think the most important is just to, if you really want to keep the original accent, if it fits to your personality. I mean, if you feel like you changing yourself for someone or for something, it won't be. I mean, the most important thing to be authentic. You can have accent, but still being authentic as a person, and that's the most important, to have this authenticity, because people believe who you are, how you do it, and not you want someone that you're not. So I know many people who speak many languages and don't have any local accents. But it doesn't matter because they have been enrichful and you learn more of them because they're authentic. And actually, that is how I perceive them because I get to learn like that. But if they will try to be someone else, pretend someone else, it feels like weird, you know. So and when it comes to languages, you should also, I believe that you should also preserve on dialects that you have because that's a way of diversity, which is So you should not make fun of people just speaking differently. So like, if I'm from South Germany, I will speak like Swabian. I should be proud of it. I'm proud of it. So if I know someone from Northern Germany, they will speak like that. Okay, be proud of it. It is the diversity that enriches all of us, and we all learn from each other. I think that is the most important thing, to be authentic to yourself. And if it fits to you, to your own values, okay, get the local regional accent. If not, okay, then just sound neutral like you want to. I mean, I know like many teachers, they have lost the local accents. They just speak neutral, like for example, like German teachers from South, like Rivera, for example. Mostly they just have the neutral German because they teach different students. And of course, the language will naturalize. So, but it's fine. As long as you're happy to go back to it, I think that's the most important thing.